Well, folks, I got good news and I got bad news. And like Colonel Hogan, I am a bad news first kind of guy. Hillary Clinton will not rule out running for president in 2020. That's the bad news. The good news is you'll never
No, that's
believe
the good news.
It all depends on how you look at it, Bill. Oh, by the way, I should introduce myself. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott. This is Right Angle. Let's get to the good news, which is just another dumbass thing Hillary Clinton said in front of a bunch of people and video cameras. Here we go.
That's childish.
What do you think of Cory Booker's? And you didn't comment on him, and you feel free.
Oh, I adore
no,
him.
What do you think about him saying kicked him in the shins, essentially? Start to get to that kind of political.
Well, that was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't. Oh, well done. Hillary.
All right, Bill, that seems like a fairly innocent joke, although it has some serious undertones, I guess. And the audience reaction sounded to me like it was mixed. Some people were genuinely laughing. Some people sounded like they were nervously laughing. There were a few gasps and all the rest. But if a Republican had said this, don't you think the media would just drum it up into the heat death of the universe?
Yeah, that would be it. The entropy would be instantaneous and total.
Yeah.
That's a great expression. Yes, and so this is once again, you find yourself in a position where you want to rake somebody over the coals for what is absolutely an innocuous remark, a most trivial, silly thing, a constant reference to all the stuff that we grew up. Well, when I say we, I mean you and I and stuff. Not our great grandparents that are running for president for the third or fourth time. But it's a nothing burger, and the reason that she should be bludgeoned with it is because she is one of the key proponents of bludgeoning people with nothing burgers. Takes a long time to beat a man to death with a Smurf football, and Nerf football rather.
Yeah, I knew what you meant, but the image was great.
Yeah.
It was a wee tiny football.
Yeah. And so this is the world that we live in, and I don't know if she's catching genuine heat for it. But if she is, I can't think of anybody who deserves it better. And this is also the way that the left eats itself. This is a constant refrain that we've had now for the last 10, 15 years, how when you have a cult of victimhood and the only way for you to compete in society, not through business or sports or anything, if the competition is for who's the biggest victim, then Hillary Clinton has already found out that she no longer is the chart topper in this regard and is, in fact, I think, dropped out of the top 40.
Out of the top 40 now. That's quite a leap because, it wasn't
She's not on the charts anymore as far as victimhood goes. I'm not talking about profile, but in terms of the victimhood status, she's off the charts low. She's out. She has left the charts.
Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Where your victimhood gets magnified the more different things that you have going on. I'm not just female.
Progressivism.
I'm a female of color. I'm not just a female of color. I'm a gay female of color. And transsectionalism is that the word I'm looking for?
Transitional feminism.
Intersectional is what Scott just said.
Transcendentalism.
Yeah.
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi.
Yeah, and it's like Highlander, right? In the end, there can only be one, right? There can only be one top victim, who would then become a dictator of the world. The person who's been the most egregiously harmed is the person with the highest moral capital and therefore should be ruling the world. That's what these people think. And I think these people are bat guano crazy.
We have a Republican small r form of government to protect us from people who think that other people should have dictatorial powers, especially when it's themselves. Listen, Scott, there was something kind of maybe poignant that you pointed out based on our interview the day before with Kara Swisher at the digital conference or whatever they're calling that thing now, where you're the one who pointed out in our backstage show, available to BillWhittle.com members only, that Hillary didn't really rule out running for president, but she doesn't want to run for president. She just wants to be president. And it occurs to me that maybe that's the thing we ought to be raking her over the coals for, that she thinks she should be somehow anointed to high office.
Yeah, it ain't over until it's over in her world, and I don't think anybody doubted that she'd like to keep herself in the running for that. And, certainly you look at the long history of political losses that eventually got parlayed into victories, and I guess it's not unreasonable for her to think that she might be able to make a comeback. And certainly, even if you've run a losing presidential campaign, if you were a top flight candidate in the sense that you finished in sort of the top 2 or 3, you learned a lot. I mean, or at least you hope you learn a lot. There's a lot of institutional knowledge and wisdom that comes with that. There's a team that you can pull together on short notice. There are a lot of people who have scores to settle who'd be glad to contribute to your next campaign. The question is, was she such a washout that even those people won't cough it up? And I think she wasn't. And the reason is because on the left, it is commonly believed that she won the election because she won the so-called popular vote. And so, therefore, I think she could put that old team back together and the band would get back together again and they'd play another tune. That said, it is kind of sad because Kara Swisher, the interviewer, directly asked her, do you want to run for president again? And she said no. And then there was like a beat, and she said, "I'd like to be president." and actually, these are the first 2 moments that I have maybe ever seen of Hillary Clinton where she seemed human. Yes. So in this, which is scary, we should be aware of this. It seemed human when she said, "No, I'd like to be president," but then she spoiled the humanity by flicking on the robot laughter switch.
Oh,
Activate laughter switch.
And then the other thing, that remark that she made, I thought was brilliant comedy. You're being interviewed as a big leftist in front of a leftist crowd by a leftist interviewer, and your interviewer botches the identification of a black guy. And that was just the perfect little rapier of wit to lance your own side, to basically say, we've got our own problems here when we're supposed to be the big advocates of the African American voter and politicians. And I don't know the difference between a senator from New Jersey and the former Attorney General of the United States.
Well, these people can't take a joke. That's one of the reasons they're so despicable, right? There is no laughter in that camp. There's no self-referential laughter. There's no self-disparaging laughter. Nothing is funny. That nothing can be joked about. Everything is absolutely ironclad. I hope they do bring her team together. They should call it a confederacy of dunces. Maybe she could pick up the Cross of Gold standard and go down a third time like William Jennings Bryan did.
I was about to make that very reference. Yes, Scott.
Let me just say that when it comes to this specific joke, #I'm with her.
All right, and that's fair. That is. There are a couple of things I notice about that clip, and it's a short little clip, but I think it's telling in some ways. The first is, normally when Hillary Clinton goes off script, it's not funny, it's not amusing, it's awful. Hillary off script tends to do things like talk about deplorables and irredeemables, where she's insulting literally half the country in the harshest possible terms that are far worse than any swear word she could have used. Deplorable and irredeemable. Think about the actual meanings of those words. And that is usually what Hillary goes to when she's off script. Just terrible instincts. In this moment, I thought it was unguarded. I thought it was warm. That's another thing we don't usually see from Hillary. It was a genuine moment. And that makes me think that she probably has ruled out running for president.
She had a software upgrade. She just downloaded some new software, and the empathy chip has been refined significantly. But it's still, work in progress. Yeah,
Hillary off script, if she's really figured out how to do this, maybe she is some kind of danger in 2020, but I'll tell you why I don't actually think so, and I think this is why her off-guarded moments are coming off as warmer now. She does not look well. Scott mentioned this on Backstage, but you look at her at her posture in that, and she is sunk into her own shoulders. And I can tell you from my health problems that I had a 10 or a dozen years ago, whenever it was, when my thyroid was so hyperactive, I was losing all this weight and all this muscle tissue, and I literally had to hunch my shoulders to create a large enough cavity for my lungs to expand, because my muscles were so gone and so weak that they couldn't do it on their own. And that's what Hillary looks like to me. I think she's just really quite ill. And you hate to watch another human being go through that, but if she is actually ill and it's given her the freedom to express herself in a warm and unscripted way, well, more power to her. I wouldn't mind kind of fading off into gray myself with that much grace. And I can't believe I've said anything nice about Hillary Clinton. I promise you it will never happen on this show again. That's my solemn word.
Fading off into orange.
Now I completely lost my clothes. Oh, I know what to say. So,
Sorry.
for BillWhittle.com, for Bill Whittle himself, for Scott Ott, I'm Steve Green. This has been Right Angle. If you like what you see, click on over to BillWhittle.com. Become a member. Become one of our citizen producers. We'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.